All right, so we're here with the world famous Koblenzer Rebbe asking him some questions. Let's go for it.
Rabbi, there are many people who say that it is prohibited in Judaism to proselytize or even encourage a Gentile to even consider possibly becoming Jewish. What do you say?
So, historically, Jews certainly at certain points in history did proselytize. There were the Idumeans in the time of the Second Temple era, who were people, they were called Idumeans because they were from Edom, they were the children of Esau, and they were forcibly converted. And we don't have any record of any criticism of the conversion of the Idumeans. Of course, later in history, around the year 800 of the Common Era, was the conversion of the people of Khazaria. There's some conspiracy theories that all the Ashkenazim are really Khazars, which wouldn't matter anyway if they were, but historically it's not really the case, as they weren't the majority of the community, but they were absorbed into the Jewish community, and apparently that entire kingdom was converted. The one place where it might indicate in the Talmud a problem is that if someone, it says Hamasilis Gayer, someone who lifts someone up to convert, but that's in the case of where someone is, what I would understand is they were bribing them, giving them money and say in order to convert or something like that. But if someone is to encourage them to convert, the Shulchan Aruch is very plain that once you see someone is sincere about wanting to convert, we are obligated to encourage them as much as possible and not discourage them too much. We just have to educate what someone's getting into, and when they make that decision and understand what they're involved with, that's good enough. We should try to encourage them. The reason the Gemara says, very interestingly, even though elsewhere in the Gemara it says that the Chasidei Umas Olam Yesh Lam Chilek L'Olam Haba, that the righteous Gentiles have a place in the afterlife. Nonetheless, in the sugya, in the discussion of the Talmud about conversion, it actually says that Olam Haba only belongs to the tzaddikim, umihem Yisrael, that the afterlife only belongs to the righteous, to the saints, and who are they? The Israelites, the Jews. And so therefore, to convert to Judaism is something that should be encouraged. In more recent times, we have the teachings of one of the very famous Hasidic masters, was Reb Nachman of Breslov. And he actually taught that we should actually proselytize. I don't know how many Breslover Hasidim do that. I know some who do. Vast majority probably don't engage in that. But he actually wrote that the whole avoda of Moshe Rabbeinu, b'chayav v'kan lacher moso, who l'gaya geirim, that it says that the whole service and the whole work of Moses, both in his lifetime and after his death now, was to convert, to make converts. And so the example, of course, of the Erev Rav, but also of the mixed multitude that converted, but also that he was buried by Mul Pa'or, it says. He was buried in front of a place called Pa'or, which is the name of Avodah Zarah, and that he was buried there for the sake of trying to encourage the people that were there to convert to Judaism, to accept the Torah and fully convert. And it wasn't talking just about Sheva Mitzvos. This idea that a lot of people, they'll tell someone when they're about to convert, it's good enough to keep Sheva Mitzvos B'nai Noach, is not presented anywhere in Chazal, in the teachings of our sages, nor in the Shulchan Aruch, the Rambam, or anywhere else. The Sheva Mitzvos B'nai Noach are the default for everybody in the world, and that really only is talking about in an ideal case. That's why it's in Hilchos Malachim, in the laws of kings, when Eretz Yisrael is settled in its proper way. Other than that, it's mostly presented either in theoretically or in the sense of what is expected. And again, I would say that, for example, if we're voting for someone and there's one who's clearly against the Sheva Mitzvahs B'nai Noach and one who's clearly for it. It would seem to me, although others disagree, that we are obligated to support those who support the Sheva Mitzvahs B'nai Noach as much as possible, whatever, when there's a question between one or the other. But in any event, with that being said, it never says that someone, when they come to convert, you tell them, oh, it's good enough to keep Sheva Mitzvahs B'nai Noach, or even, oh, you should stay a Gentile. All of the quote-unquote discouragement is only in the sense of explaining what you're getting involved in, that you're having obligations now that you didn't have before, and that you might be facing with discrimination as being part of the Jewish community, that people discriminate against us. But then we explain the reason for that discrimination is that if the Jews have too much good in their lives materially, they might not be devoted to God as much as they should. And so therefore, that's why we have some persecution in this world to keep us faithful to God. And that is what someone is getting involved in. But never does it say, oh, you have to push them away 3 times. In any halachic source, it is mentioned midrashically, but that is not considered to be a halachic legal requirement. It's more of a homiletical interpretation, and since it's not mentioned in the Shulchan Aruch or in the Rambam, in the Code of Jewish Law, or in Maimonides' code, that shows that there is no obligation to push someone away 3 times, as if that was some kind of a magic number that a lot of people think it's some kind of superstition, that when they come to convert to Judaism, that the rabbi must say no 3 times, and that the person, and I'm saying this is not the case, and that the person should ask, and once he asks the 3rd time, the rabbi will convert him. It's not the case at all. What the case is that the rabbi should explain what he's getting involved in, and if the person is sincere and he doesn't have any ulterior motives, and he's doing everything l'shem shamayim, for the sake of heaven, we're supposed to encourage it. And probably the big reason why Jews did not proselytize throughout history was because it was pikuach nefesh. In Europe or in the Middle East, if a Christian or a Muslim converted to Judaism, they would be killed, and the rabbis who performed the conversion would be killed. However, now, that we have freedom of religion, there's absolutely no reason not to try to influence people who are seeking a new religion. There are many spiritual seekers, and to explain to them what is involved in converting to Judaism, and to encourage people to consider that. There's absolutely no reason not to, and there seems to be very good reasons to do so, as long, again, as the conversion is performed properly, according to halacha. But what a lot of people don't understand is the halacha is very simple. An incredible thing about conversion to Judaism is one of the few parts of Jewish law that is probably 95% verbatim, from the Talmud to Maimonides' code to the Shulchan Aruch, the Code of Jewish Law. A few differences, one to the other, but almost verbatim, which to me demonstrates that it's such a simple thing that it shouldn't be considered as complicated as many today make it, that the people make it take 2-3 years, something crazy like that. Absolutely no reason for that. It can be done as quickly as the same day. And I can see some wisdom in allowing someone to experience all the holidays before they convert and make that decision. So 6 months or a year is more than sufficient. But the truth of the matter is, if someone did this on their own and learned on their own sufficiently and accept the Torah humbly, I think that's the biggest part of it, is how we accepted the Torah. Na'aseh v'nishma, we will do and we will listen. And not think that you're smarter than the rabbi or other things, in general things that are obviously the halacha. Then it should be a very easy thing to convert. But I've had people come to me, and they'll say certain things and they disagree with me, and I wouldn't work with them for that reason until they're ready to be machnia, to be humbled in the proper way. I'm not saying